Stugotz, correct me here if I'm wrong, because I do not want to be prisoner of the moment.
Okay.
But I believe that this century, the best the New York Knicks have felt is right now. Is a "Let's Go Knicks" chant in the Heat's building.
We won a playoff game, Dan.
Julius Randle falling out of bounds.
Yeah.
A ridiculous shot. That is not a good shot. I don't care how much basketball changes. That will never be a good shot. Him taking that shot is not a good shot. He made it again yesterday.
Right.
He made it yesterday again because they beat Boston.
It appears to be a good shot for him.
It goes in occasionally. He can take it for the rest of his life. I will not fear that beating me. I understand that it just beat you, and "Let's Go Knicks" was being chanted in an arena where Jimmy Butler now says he's tired of the process and he's bored. Let's play that Jimmy Butler sound.
Hang on 1 second. I had Bone Thugs playing in the background. Here's Busy Bone.
I mean, I'm at a point now, I think everybody is, where it doesn't surprise us. We really get bored with the process, and I can't tell you why. And, you know, we play hard, and sometimes we get back in a game like we did tonight, and sometimes we don't. But either way it goes, if we just play basketball the right way the entire game, I don't think that we're in that situation more often than not. But for some odd reason, we think it's going to be easy, so we just go out there and go through the motions.
Isn't that what the culture's for?
I think that it is easier to say that word salad than it is to just say we're last in the league in shooting. We simply cannot shoot. We are terrible at shooting a basketball, and if we keep missing, sometimes it's going to look like we're not trying.
But Jimmy all season long has been defiant when asked about their struggles. He's always been saying a crazy thing like, we'll win the championship, and then if they show up in the playoffs, he kind of plays like he truly believes that. But this is as defeated as we've heard Jimmy Butler probably in his tenure here.
When we be taking bad shots, when we turn the ball over, and then we just don't get back. Or if we do get back, we're not in the gaps, and then they just dribble around us. We just got to put up more resistance on that side of the floor, especially in transition. But even if we're not in transition, we got to guard our yard, guard the ball. And start figuring it out. Because if you ask me what we're going to do about it, I'm going to say we're going to figure it out. So, once again.
Is he sucking on a lozenge?
I don't know. But, I mean, he was in a dark place this post-game press conference. Listen to this part.
Jimmy, I know you've tried to be careful on back-to-backs. Do you expect to play tomorrow, or is that still up in the air?
I don't even know if I'm going to wake up in the morning. That ain't the way the world works.
Wow, that went very bleak.
I mean, they won the next day.
Yeah, and he played, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He woke up.
Good news, I guess.
And Trey Young was again terrible against them. Trey Young simply doesn't want to play against them anymore. It cannot be something that he looks forward to. An enormous amount of turnovers, doesn't make anything, can't score, throws up, looks incompetent at basketball. It's the strangest thing to see a guy that I know is competent at basketball. It's like that Jeremy Lin game that the Heat played, a million years ago, where
they triple teamed him. They ended Lin.
Yeah, but it's like every time he plays them, that game happens with Trey Young. It's very strange to see someone of that star power get neutralized that way every time.
Trey Young does go through some stretches where it looks like he doesn't know how to shoot and looks like he doesn't know how to play basketball. I don't know if it's specific to the Heat, but I have seen him do it against other teams as well.
No, if you have watched him against the Heat, he never looks the way that he looks against them.
Jeremy told us back here that ever since he called game against the Heat in a game in which the Hawks lost, he's shooting 30% from the floor against Miami.
It's really bad, and turning the ball over a ton on top of that. It also sounded, and I know that this has been something that was already official, but it seems to have become extra official yesterday with the announcement Udonis Haslem is really, really super retired at the end of this year. We're going to have 4 days to celebrate it. A 4-day celebration.
He deserves it. He deserves more.
Of Udonis Haslem.
And yet, I feel like he could still sign for the vets minimum next year.
And he will.
It's not impossible.
Billy, do you believe that the retirement is for real, or is he going to go back and forth on this?
We'll see. Didn't he like sit on a backboard at a media day a couple years ago and announce that it was his last year?
I think that was before COVID.
I think it wasn't like the same like last ride with Wade. He's like, it's my last ride too, or something like that. Mm-hmm. If I remember correct, I could be remembering incorrectly. Good for him though. I mean, I hope he keeps coming back. He's getting paid a lot of money.
Did he plan to do this on 305 Day?
Wow.
Was this always in the cards?
Probably. And I mean, there's a whole launch. There's a 4-day set of programming that's going to be around Udonis Haslem's retirement.
I felt bad. Oh, it's working on Chris. Chris just said I got to go to one.
I gotta go. I want to go celebrate UD.
Just one of the four?
What are we doing around here?
But which one do you go to? I mean,
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Feeling number 3.
No, you want to do 4 is the last.
You figure
one.
the 4th is the.
But everyone wants to go. Like tickets will be the most expensive for the 1st and the 4th, so I'll get the 3rd. Nice little 3rd action.
No 2.
Nice.
Not a 2.
No.
Oh.
They're calling it 4 days of 40. On March the 23rd.
Should be 40 days, but you know.
Yep.
There's an ongoing digital content series on the 23rd. On the 24th, they'll release the UD collection, which will include 4 new Udonis Haslem shirts. On the 25th, they're playing the Brooklyn Nets, and they'll have a UD night with a newly dedicated Section 305 to Udonis. And then on the 26th, the 23rd annual Miami Heat Family Festival will feature Haslem-themed activations and experiences.
So I was wrong. I thought it was 4 games. It's 4 days. There's only 1 game in here, so I'll go to that one. But it is on the 3rd day, so I was right.
They turned that around real quick, huh? He just made the announcement, and all these things just popped up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he announced it before the season.
He has,
3 seasons ago.
he has 1 made field goal this year.
But lots of made field goods.
I would have taken the under if you said a half. I mean,
How many attempts, though?
I was trying to say, are they having a celebration for each bucket he's made this season? And I came in well under.
Is it 2 attempts? Is he shooting 50%?
No, he had a game where he went 0 for 4.
I felt bad. Did I see it wrong? I felt like he said like it's time to get a new voice in here or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
did say that.
So,
That's
like,
how he said it.
That's sad, right? Like it felt like his role was like to be like the middle management kind of, but not middle management, like the player that was there for the players, but also trying to teach. And it's kind of like.
He's like, these kids aren't listening to me
That's
anymore.
kind of
I'm
what
done
it
with these
sounded
kids.
like. Yeah.
The kids are Jimmy. He's 0 for his last 9.
really, just can't get through to Tyler Hero. I mean,
If you saw him go at Jimmy, like Jimmy wears on folks, and this is part of the Jimmy experience. And
he'll have a role inside the organization, though, right?
Yeah.
Forever, you did.
They're going to give him
maybe a coach.
They're going to give him a little bit of ownership too. I think they're going to give him a small one of those fractional ownership percentages as well. You don't get a lot of players. You want to hear the list? How many do you think players have played 20 years in basketball? The entire list. If you had to take a guess, how many players?
He hasn't exactly played 20. I mean,
fair enough.
I mean, he's been under contract for 20, but playing and being under contract are sometimes 2 very different things. So he's played about 8 years.
Vince Carter, Robert Parrish,
Chief.
Kevin Garnett,
KD, or sorry, KG, the big ticket. Just to clarify, Dano.
Hey, D.
That was a fun game.
Oh, that was really fun watching Kyrie and Durant. Also, Devin Booker, don't talk shit now that you're Robin.
I can't take him
Come on,
seriously. Yeah.
Devin Booker jawing at Luka after what's happened when Devin was the best player and Luka was the best player, and now you all of a sudden have KD. And I know Booker played well; they both went over 35 points. But don't be talking to Luka. You got to shut your mouth in that spot. Your first regular season matchup, where all of a sudden they go out and get somebody that's better than you. Don't talk.
Luka said the same thing. Luka said, "Don't start talking when there. Next time, start talking before there are 3 seconds left in the game." But
he missed a bunny though, Luka.
He did. Yeah.
But if Devin Booker's your second best player, you're champion. Good.
They also he might also be the best player on a championship team. We might have known that if Chris Paul could last 4 healthy rounds. They could have won the championship if Chris Paul were healthy.
But if at the end of games, what's shooting is Durant and a shot that cannot be touched or blocked or bothered or impeded, I believe. Didn't he have a true shooting percentage of 80% since he's been playing with the Suns? Like he doesn't.
Phoenix is really good. Their bench is probably a concern for the postseason because they gave up a lot of pieces for Durant. But you see that starting 5 that they have out there.
Those pieces are playing well, by the way, in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Quite well.
Yes.
No, the Miami Heat kind of thought that they had a deal for Kevin Durant. They were very confident. And then there was like an owner-to-owner conversation between Phoenix and Brooklyn. And the brand new owner for Phoenix gave up a pretty hefty package. And it looks like that was a right move for Brooklyn. It kind of cut off the basketball people, and the owner made the call on where to send him. And I think that was a right move for where Brooklyn is headed towards a franchise, better than Miami's offer. But I think the depth is going to pop up at an inopportune time for Phoenix because they've built their team around guys that get hurt. Chris Paul gets hurt. Devin Booker's been hurt. Kevin Durant's been hurt. And they gave up a lot of important pieces that would help in the event that someone has to slide in and make a contribution. So I think that it's not the same kind of question marks that you had around the Nets when they built around Harden, KD, and Kyrie. They were fragile for several other reasons, including physical, but they're older. And I can understand why the Heat just fell short and said, how much longer can Kevin Durant, who's already had an Achilles injury, he's in his mid-30s, like how much longer can he be someone worthy of this trade, this offer, these pieces that we'd give up?
It's probably the length of that contract. That's the thing, though, is that, over the next 4 years, is there going to be a precipitous drop-off? Probably not. And the thing about KD, from a basketball standpoint, and it's why sort of his inability to win anything outside of Golden State is so stunning, is that he's as pliable of a superstar as there is. You and Tom Haberstroh was talking about this on the show last Friday. You plug him in wherever with any group of players, and he's just going to be a 50, 40, 90 guy and be unstoppable, have the most unblockable jump shot in the league, and he's unplayable. No matter the content. It's not like, it's got to take him a second to fit. No, it's easy no matter where he goes.
Billy, I heard you before the show questioning LeBron James.
I question LeBron James? I would never do such a thing.
You were doing such a thing. You were questioning his dreams.
That's not real. Do you believe that's real? Do you know the dream? Do you know the story? You want to read it to you?
No, I do know the story, but if you want to tell the audience, you can tell the audience. Stugotz will love this story.
So LeBron James yesterday tweeted out, just woke up from having a dream that MJ and I was shooting the S word back and forth the men's national championship game between North Carolina and Duke. Great vibes, an epic classic game. It was a tie game, 94-94, 5 seconds left, North Carolina with the ball. My A, getting emotional.
You okay?
My A would wake up to use the bathroom right before seeing the ending of the game. And then like one of these emojis where your like hand is in your palm. Happens all the time. Never get to the end. Always felt real as hell. LOL. GM, everyone. So LeBron's had this recurring dream, Dan.
I could tell him how it ends.
Billy, what's going on with your voice? What's the matter?
I don't know, Dan. I'm getting older, but I did get a lecture right before. Not a lecture, it was like a friendly tip. So I grabbed the water, right? And I like reached really deep into the cooler to grab the water because we have coolers here. So I reached really deep into the cooler to get a cold water. I like a cold water, Dan. And then Tony, as helpful as ever, told me
room temperature's better.
Exactly, one of those things. And I said, well, Izzy told me that 4 years ago, and I trust Izzy over you because he has the results. Like you telling me what makes your body look good. Like you're tall, but you had nothing to do with that. You know what I mean?
It's totally fair.
What is that supposed to mean?
And then Whitty told
I can't help you with just like little helpful tidbits here and there, like I do every single day. Like, hey, don't drink so much Coke.
You can, but you don't have the results to prove. You know what I mean? Like when Izzy tells me do this is good for you, I trust Izzy because he's a specimen. You're tall,
right?
You know. And again, you did nothing for that.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Bottled water, ice cold, or room temperature?
Well, I brought up the water, Dan. You were asking me what was going on with my voice. Then Whitty said that cold water's bad for your voice, and I just and now look at what's happening to me. So Whitty might have been right.
But what is going on with you? You're now advocating for a 9 p.m. sleep time. You're telling everybody to go to sleep at 9 p.m.
Delightful.
I fell asleep at 9 the other day, and it was, it
was great.
I didn't know what the hell happened in the world when I woke up at 4, and then I was like, am I done sleeping for the day? Because it's like I slept now 7-8 hours. It's really early. This is too early. I need to go back to sleep. But 9 o'clock, oh man, it was great. Also rest. I couldn't. You know what? It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't the best sleep. It was an okay sleep. So I woke up a bunch of times. If it was 9 o'clock straight through to the morning,
crazy,
it would have been awesome.
So neurotic.
Not the best. It was all right. It was an okay sleep. Have you ever slept at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it's
And
great. Love it.
It didn't stay with me the way that it stayed with you.
I can't even talk. It's been days. You know what I mean?
I want to make fun of you, but I missed both the Chris Rock special and The Last of Us.
How the hell did you miss the Chris Rock special?
Are you serious?
I fell
This was
asleep.
tan for you. I haven't heard anyone talk about it but you, and you missed it. Are you kidding me?
people, I went out of my way to watch that.
Dan.
I had already run through
Dan.
the way that LeBron
It was
dreams
late.
about that recurring Duke North
feel
Carolina
you.
championship. I have a recurring dream about talking about Chappelle and Netflix and Chris Rock and all these stand-up specials and cancel culture and Louis C.K. I wake up in a cold sweat sometimes, like that old Dwayne Wade commercial.
I did not wake up in a cold sweat or at all until the following morning. Fell asleep during both of them and have not gotten around to it yet, although I've heard what everybody has to say about them.
You
And
haven't watched it yet? There was yesterday.
yeah, couldn't
People
do it.
tuned in today because they're like, today we get the closure we've been waiting for.
Wow, this is surprising. Congrats on having a weekend, though.
Not really, just
was sleeping.
hospitals and funerals and sleep. Hospitals, funerals, and sleep.
Lo
The
siento.
good stuff.
Can we get back to LeBron for a second? It is pretty funny with him because everyone talks about this image that he has that's so great. You know, I've heard people comparing when they talk about Ja, like, oh, LeBron's never had stuff like this. But people think he's a liar. Yeah. That's like, it's one of those things where he has this reputation for being just like no bad thoughts about him. But yet every time he speaks, people are like, you are full of shit.
Chris, I think I know where it started. I think it started here when he started fake reading those books, and he would be like on page
Right.
1 of like Malcolm X, and we were like,
But my point is,
I don't know
like,
about that one.
that's a huge indictment if people
No.
just think you're
No.
full of shit.
No.
Like, that's almost, it's not, I don't want to compare it to like doing illegal things, but it's pretty bad.
Is it liar or self-aggrandizing?
He
'Cause,
tells
like, he-
Whoppers.
And he also might not
Yeah,
be
he does.
lying too.
It's worked
That's
out
like a
well
little
for
thing
me.
in all of this. He could just be telling the truth too.
No, that's
he
not
might
an
have read
option.
books. He might have had this dream. It's just it's
way he read
unfair
those
of us to just be like, you're full of shit.
No, it's fine though, because it's not like an accusatory. Like it's gotten to the comical point where he just tells whoppers. You're like, okay, like it's like like
But
an
what if
old
he's telling the
sailor
truth?
telling tales.
But imagine if he's telling the truth with all this stuff, and we just have this thought that he's
not.
this liar. That
mean-
stinks. That must stink for him.
I mean,
imagine if he actually had this dream. And
Oh,
now
yeah, I'm
the
almost certain he
narrative,
did.
the narrative of it is you're lying. Another lie. Here we go again. It's just that must stink if he's telling the truth.
Who would wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to tell the world about a dream I didn't have?
Right.
It seems
But yet we all
impossible.
think he's lying.
I don't think he's lying.
Let's vote right now. Genuine.
Blind vote. Everybody hands down, and we'll rate. Dan, you have to count. Heads down,
It's
everybody.
old man stuff, though. This dream of his was interrupted by the old man need to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And it really is telling, right? In the year that he breaks the scoring record, and he's kind of great, I think we can all agree, that Michael Jordan, because he didn't come up in this age with the need to show everybody your every thought, opinion, and dream, Michael Jordan would never get, I'm saying thing, and the world says, you're full of shit.
I mean, there was the shop watch along on Amazon Prime where he's like, I think Coach McVay is looking at my playbook in Madden because I use you as a spy all the time. And Jalen Ramsey just said, you're always capping. Like, you're just, why tell me this lie?
Jordan might be the most trusted voice that we have. I mean, in the history of the United States of America. Seriously. He says something, it happened. Right?
Do you believe that happened, Dan?
I'm not sure. I want some more
Okay,
information.
how about this?
I do want to hear the vote and the room's opinion.
Well, hold on. Do you guys believe that it's happened all the time, as he implied? That this wasn't a one-off, that this dream is always happening over, and every time he gets up to go to the bathroom. Do you believe that?
It's always this time. That's
right
hard.
as he's about to lose. I mean, that's it.
It seems hard to be that. It seems hard to believe that would be
Convenient.
a recurring dream, the recurring dream, and that it would end there each time.
Well, Jer Bear says that he doesn't think that's what the implication was, that he thinks that going to the bathroom always wakes him up for dreams, not that this dream has been recurring. I read it as this is a recurring dream and he always has to go to the bathroom.
I took it as this just always happens to me. Like, I hate when this happens and
It
I can't
happens to
remember.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about this? I have a question for you guys. Cold water's getting to me today. The dream that I have when I need to get up and pee is usually I'm going to a urinal and I'm like, no, and then I have to run. I have to run to the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only time I've ever peed the bed in my adult life was I was having a dream that I was playing a video game and my character in the video game was peeing and I woke up in a pool of pee.
If you have a dream where you're going to the bathroom, get up and go to the bathroom because you're going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, no, ever since then, my brain shuts off and I'm like, again, the Dwayne Wade Gatorade commercial.
Maybe LeBron just stopped smoking weed. Because I've read things that if you smoke weed for a good amount of time and then just go cold turkey, you get these like really vivid dreams. So maybe that's what happened. Cold turkey LeBron.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatardShow.
Very accusatory.
I'd have to quit to tell you if it's true or not. I mean,
have you ever wet the bed in adulthood at LeBatardShow?
It happened once, guys. It's all right. It's not a problem for me. You know
what,
it's
Mike?
just-
I'll support you. I have as well.
See?
Yeah,
It's normal.
It happens. And it's the same thing.
Stugotz?
It's the same thing. You're dreaming about peeing.
Yeah.
Stugotz?
have I dreamed about being?
Yeah, and wet the bed by accident, Lil.
I've
Even
wet the
drop or
bed.
two.
I'm not certain what the
Yeah.
dream was. I don't remember my dreams. I've never quit. I keep smoking. And so, but I'm certain I've woken up in a bed full of pee.
My dad peed in his closet once.
What?
He talks about it on this Greg Cody show, actually. This
He
week.
did?
Yeah. I mean, we can only imagine how many Miller Lights were before that, but
Closet.
Carpeted or what were the
carpeted walk-in closet.
Oh, boy. That's not ideal.
He
Whittingham,
was 65 years old.
there was something beautiful about you taking a couple of hiccups to think there and putting a hand on Mike's bare shoulder because he's wearing a University of Miami jersey today.
It's
that
cold
is
in here, too.
sleeveless.
It
Yeah, I've got
is.
some questions I want to
ACC
ask you
champs, though.
about
I
that
I mean,
jersey.
it's a lot.
But you put your hand on his shoulder and you said, you know what? As if trying to talk yourself into it, I'll support you. I too have wet the bed as an adult. And it felt like an Urinators Anonymous meeting, like where you guys
Appreciate the support.
were sharing.
Share my vulnerabilities for your entertainment. Like, occasionally, I'd like to be supported with some of these things, and it warmed my heart. The cockles of my heart were warmed.
The show sometimes leaves you on an island, Dan. I know all too well, and so when I see it in others, I just want to. And especially, you
So you're
put it on
lying.
the poll. You put it on the. No, I'm not lying.
I believe that you peed.
I was lying.
Rohan Nadkarni, you always are, says of Trey Young, Stugotz, not only is he shooting the aforementioned 30.3%, but in his last 8 games shooting 30%, he's got 49 turnovers against the Heat. That's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
And the Miami Heat are in a position where they've broken Jimmy Butler. Udonis Haslem is officially quitting over 4 days. And I think it was that Randle shot. And
They did win afterwards.
am I
Shook it
wrong?
off.
Am I wrong when I say to you, Stugotz, that that's as good as the Knicks have felt? Right now, they're in a 9-game winning streak. They just won at Miami and at Boston, and they win at Miami.
Possibly frisky.
We've had some moments.
What a playoff
Amari,
series a decade ago.
yeah, Amari. The first 20 games was the MVP of the NBA. That felt good. Linsanity felt good. The playoff win that felt like winning a championship a couple of years ago. That felt good.
There was a gentleman's
This is
sweep.
right up there,
There was
though.
a gentleman's sweep against the Heat, and you guys saved off a sweep and confetti rained down.
Forgive me, though, Stugotz. I'm not actually talking about, because you're right, all of those in terms of what they must have felt like for a moment would be a better feeling. What I'm trying to present to you is this might be the best Knicks team I've seen this century.
It might be. Listen, they've been the best team in the NBA since the All-Star break. They win at Boston last night. Al Horford will not miss that 3 in the postseason, I promise you. But they win that game anyways, and they do it without Brunson. And perhaps, and Mike was on this from the start, perhaps I underestimated just how good that signing was going to be for the Knicks, because he has been great. Now, again, they won without him last night, but yes,
Well, but it wasn't
this
just-
is exciting
but-
because they're good now when you feel like they could be good for the next 5 years
but
or so.
Stugotz, because they weren't good last year.
No.
And in the absence of Brunson, all of a sudden, quickly is having the game of his life.
Yes.
Totally unstoppable.
He was great last night.
But it's it's faint praise to say this is the best Knicks team of the century. I don't even know if it's true or not. I don't think any of the top 4 teams in the conference would fear them. Maybe the 4 seed would.
The Cavs.
Maybe. I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't know if they would
I'd
fear
love to see
them.
that
I think
series.
they would understand they're in for a series, and it's a difficult, tricky team to play. And with Thibodeau, you know they're going to play defense, and they have. They played defensively. They played very well. The surprise has been their team offensively, where they've been so good during this stretch and since the All-Star break. It's kind of weird to see a Tom Thibodeau team, play this well on the offensive end. That's not usually how his teams get it done. But I think the Cavs would. Who are the Cavs? Who is Donovan Mitchell not to take the Knicks serious? I don't want to hear about it. I mean, seriously. And the Sixers as well. I mean, the Knicks could beat either of those teams. The Celtics, the Bucks, they'll probably run into trouble there. But who are the Cavaliers? I mean, seriously.
Stugotz.
Tired of them.
You
haven't even played them yet.
Are you willing to hope? Julius Randle was falling out of bounds. A truly terrible shot.
Yeah. Well, it went in.
I know. It did.
Great shot.
I understand that it did. Let's go Knicks ringing out in Miami.
Man, I don't read too much into that. Every time we play in Madison Square Garden and in Brooklyn and in Atlanta and in Orlando, you hear "Let's go Heat." They're allowed to have this one exciting thing. It's all right. We're up. We're down.
It is wild, though. The Knicks this century have had one 50-win season, and they could potentially get a second here. I would actually be alarmed if the Knicks were really good, because there's so many desperate New Yorkers, and it is it is a one basketball team city as much as Brooklyn exists. They don't have they're not competitive fan bases. I would be alarmed if the Knicks had an actual good team in terms of they went nuts for one playoff win.
The coverage would be annoying.
It would be annoying.
I'm watching the Carton Show right now, and they're talking about Knicks basketball. It's a 5 seed, and we saw when they were in that 4-5 series, they won a game, and they totally hijacked the basketball conversation. It's just, I'd rather, if they were legitimately good, if they were title good, I don't mind them dominating the conversation. But when we're having serious doubts if they'll get out of the first round or not, I don't think it's deserved.
It's hard to say they're title good because of how overwhelming the two teams at the top are in the East, the Bucks and the Celtics. The difference with this Knicks team as opposed to 2 years ago is you feel like they could get a lot better in the offseason. They're young, and maybe they'll stick around and be very, very good for 5 to 6 years. I have no idea, but that's the hope if you're a Knicks fan. And we haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah. There's a sustainability, and you might finally be out of this muck.
Correct.
The problem with that, you're not exactly wrong, but Giannis and Tatum,
it's crazy,
and Embiid, these are not old people. These are, Giannis is the oldest of them, and
he's 27.
He's older than that, isn't he? But regardless, he's totally terrifying, and so you can be really good and relevant.
He's 28, by the way.
You could be exciting 9-game winning streak. Knicks give a lot of teams problems, but you don't have a player like those players.
But they might if
one does.
They might if they can show these players, these next superstars, that they're building something. It is a desirable location if that team is good. They'll get free agents. They just got one. And if they show that they're a piece away, then the next time a superstar demands out of their city, they might list New York.
By the way, this is why Mike and I make a big deal every single year about George Hill trading day, okay, the trading deadline. They get a guy, Josh Hart, who has been great. Under the radar, they get him from Portland. I had no idea he was playing in Portland. I had no idea he was a Knick. But Josh Hart has been great since the Knicks acquired him. He's given them a boost.
He's a very underrated player.
He
has been. He's just been
a little bit of everything.
He's been playing in markets that aren't really a huge part of the conversation.
Again, though, when it's Embiid and Giannis and Tatum and that age, Josh Hart's not the difference there.
No, but Josh Hart might bring you up to the precipice along with Brunson and Randle that if the Lillard thing ever happens, you get a superstar like that, and all
they're
of a sudden,
absolutely in the conversation for the next guy, because not only do they have the good young players, they have all their picks, and I think even then some.
Right?
They have some extra assets.
Yes.
They have extra
assets.
They
offered them all to the Nets for Kevin Durant. The Nets didn't want to give Kevin Durant.
I know
to the
the Donovan
Nets.
Mitchell trade has worked out for Cleveland, and everyone assumed that Donovan Mitchell was going to go to the New York Knicks. But what ended up happening was you didn't have to give up any assets for Jalen Brunson. And now you're well positioned. You have all that capital to go out and get someone that could really improve your team. So it's not it's not just Donovan Mitchell. It's a combination of Brunson and the next player, and that could certainly be better than Donovan Mitchell.
Mike Ryan is presently wearing, and I don't know what age we grow out of these things. He is proudly a University of Miami alum, and he is wearing a basketball jersey, even though he didn't go to the school. He is proudly a proud University of Miami alum. And he is wearing.
Walked up there.
He is
got
wearing
it from Shalala.
a basketball jersey right
At this
now.
point, just go get an MBA or something like that.
I mean, shit, I could pay for it pretty much. So, no, I thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
You're an honorary alum.
I want one of those cool Native American jackets. The Iron Arrow.
Iron Arrow,
Yeah.
the highest honor given
I
by
asked.
the
I
University
was like,
of
hey, what do I
Miami.
have to do there? They're like, you have to come here. I'm like, come on.
There's ways around that.
I'm very jealous that I'm not in that club. I really want an Iron Arrow. I'm sad that I didn't get in.
Of
when I was in
course,
college.
of course. This is this is very you, Iron Arrow, as a distinction. But around us, I don't think I've seen someone try or pull off what Mike is trying.
I still don't think you've seen someone pull it off.
I don't think no.
Trying, yes. Pulling it off, no.
I don't think anyone can pull it off after a certain age. But you are showing off the arms right now.
I'm wearing a Norm Chad O'Meara Miami Hurricanes basketball jersey. He's my favorite player, maybe ever, that's ever played at that university. And thank you for finally giving me the opportunity to talk about a top 30 sports moment in my life, which was winning that ACC co-champions. I understand. Dilute it all you want. It doesn't matter. It's the second ACC title.
Who's
for this
diluting
program.
it?
There's people out there like, oh, if that's the goal before the season, all these legacy fan bases. This is so improbable.
Saying it's a top 30 moment also dilutes it a little bit.
Well,
Like not.
I don't want to be
not that great.
I don't want to be hyperbolic. We've had a lot of great Heat moments and all that in sports fandom.
You were there. You were there yesterday.
I was there on Saturday.
Saturday when they beat Pittsburgh 78-76.
If that shot would have gone in, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been so devastated.
It would have been a brutal loss.
So
they
devastated.
had the game the entire time, and then at the end, they tried very hard to cough it up.
Did you storm the court or?
No.
No?
I'm too old to do that. Not too old to wear this jersey. But storming the court, I
That's
think
where you draw the line?
Yeah, storming the court is a young man's game, and I really
It's a dangerous
took it in. I
game,
took it
man.
in. I really enjoyed it. This is the first season that I've had basketball season tickets, and I've really grown to love these players and the effort they put forth, and they seem like all great kids. And Coach L, I'm just so happy for everybody. I know how hard that they did this, and Jim Boeheim.
It feels like an acceptance speech you're making right now.
It felt
Do it
like
in the tournament,
it feels like, validation. Sports fans are always seeking validation. And even then, it doesn't feel like you're getting the validation because Duke, North Carolina is the conversation piece still in the ACC. They had a game on the same day, and you're still an afterthought. Miami went to the Elite Eight. They weren't even ranked entering this season. So you always have that little man complex when you're not one of these blue blood
Not in
programs.
that jersey. You're not allowed to have a little man complex when you're wearing that jersey.
Well, that
why,
dude
why is he
smaller.
your favorite? Just because
He's Latino.
because-
He's baby food, and if you watch the way that he plays, he's 6'6",
rugged.
He's the strongest player. He is the strongest player I've ever seen play for that program, and this is a program that gave us Jimmy Graham. He is a bully. That team has 3 7-footers, and they didn't have an answer for
Pittsburgh.
baby food. Yeah, you could tell he alters shots by his presence. I don't want to have the conversation about next level. I know there are Kenneth Faried comparisons, which are flattering, I guess, until you realize Kenneth Faried is presently playing in Mexico because the sport evolved. But he's a damn good player. He has made this team so good. He hustles on every play. He plays much bigger than he is. He's so strong. He's got a great touch around the rim. And I really hope that he can continue to develop that shot because it doesn't look bad when he does put it up from the outside.
Whittingham, who is your favorite University of Miami basketball player ever? Because I'm surprised Mike is already putting him at the top of the list before they even entered the tournament.
McClinton, for me, was the king of the mountain prior to this season, and baby food has just totally won me over.
I think it sort of depends on like which era sort of most mattered to you. I was in college when UM last won the regular season, and they also went on to win the ACC basketball tournament. And that team, for me, it's still one of the best sporting seasons I've ever been close to. So it's probably Shane Larkin for me, just because that team was. I loved going to the arena every night. I'm sure, Mike, you're experiencing that right now. You can't wait for the next game because there's something cool about rooting for an underdog in this sport in particular, where it's so tradition based. It's like, oh, you go to the arena and you beat Duke by 27. They were the number 1 team in the country that season, and that was like a good Duke team. You beat Harrison Barnes in your place and North Carolina. This year, I mean, the ACC and college basketball is just different now, so you don't really have anyone in this league that gives you that kind of feeling, but you still, Duke and Carolina and Louisville and Syracuse and Virginia, all these big programs put all of their effort into being good at men's basketball, and Miami just sort of tripped into being good at this sport.
Yeah, Virginia won a national title not too long ago, and they lost head-to-head against us. We're the top seed in the ACC, get to be co-champions. Doesn't really dilute the championship for me because I know that the emotion in that building.
It's a banner.
It was
Who gives a shit? It's a banner.
It's a cool moment, though.
What have we had? You can count on one hand the amount of court storming moments we've had in this program's history. To see Jim Larrañaga go up a ladder and cut down the nets as Doo-Doo Brown is playing over the speakers. It was a goddamn party. It was a rager. I felt like I was at a concert. People were on people's shoulders. It was so positive, and it kind of felt like small town Americana. It was just a wonderful, good vibes moment. I'm so happy for that.
It's not just winning any conference; it's winning that basketball conference, right?
Like
ACC with Duke, with Carolina, with all the history, with teams who have won national championships, and you won it. That is a cool moment.
It really does mean something. And the ACC could be down this year. They said the same shit last year, and then half the teams in the Final Four came from this conference. But no one's going to be able to take away. Well, we'll see. Maybe the NCAA. But no one's going to be able to take away those banners.
A few years down the line.
Why did Virginia also cut down the net? Because Miami's the 1 seed. I saw them cutting down a net, but I also saw Virginia cutting down a net.
Yeah, and we beat them head to head. But, whatever.
So they got like a percentage of
We're co-champions. Yeah, co-champions.
But we're the 1 seed. Yeah. And we beat them in the right. We're the champions. Hey, Virginia.
Enough of the Nets. Right, enough of the Nets.
Yeah,
exactly.
Your words, not mine, but you made a lot of good points.
So Kenneth Faried no longer in the NBA, huh?
No, he's
sad days for the Manimal.
He brought it all the way back around. Did you hear?
He missed the window.
He missed the window to say Manimal, and so he's like, "So Kenneth Faried, tell me more." I've been stuck on that portion of the conversation. To see the University of Miami, Stugotz. You say stumbled into it, but I mean, Larrañaga's been trying to build something here for a long amount of time. He's got longevity. The program has gotten pretty consistently better in a way it only has ever been under Leonard Hamilton.
But it's the financial backing of the program. Even in hiring Jim Larrañaga, they went to go find a good coach from a mid-major. They weren't trying to go poach one of the big names off somebody else. They don't have a huge on-campus arena that seats 20,000 people. They only really started financially backing this program this year with it through NIL money. Otherwise, it's never been a priority at Miami to be good at men's basketball.
And not to get sentimental, but in going to all these games, and it's so intimate, you hear the conversations the players are having. I literally hear Jim Larrañaga coaching them up. And I kind of got sentimental watching Wooga Poplar have that performance because we win the ACC on the back of Wooga Poplar, who was straight up afraid to shoot in the Elite Eight against Kansas.
That's how their last season ended, with him at the top of the key, afraid to shoot, yanked out of a game in like 6 minutes because it was like Kansas was just saying, "Go ahead."
Yeah,
and he's like,
they essentially put Andrew Bogut on Tony Allen, knowing that Tony Allen wouldn't shoot anymore. And Wooga has worked so hard to the point that if you look at their roster, considering the ages and the player sizes, you could make a pretty sound argument that Wooga Poplar has the best NBA prospects, which is maddening. Because the emotional shit that I was saying about Wooga Poplar during that Kansas thing, I didn't want to see this guy out there. How are you afraid to shoot? And now he's an essential piece of the team with a great-looking shot. He's a very solid defender, and that's just all hard work. It's all the great stuff about sports. It's an underdog that goes in the gym and works at it because he was embarrassed on a national platform. And to be able to win the ACC in that fashion because Wooga was so good was just really heartwarming, I thought.
Top 30, though, I do think Billy is right, that it does get diluted when you...
He hasn't had many moments,
well,
though.
I haven't, especially and I can already tell people are pretty annoyed because I'm excited about something. How many times have I had the opportunity, even this season, to talk about Miami basketball? I do it in passing. Afford me this one indulgence because that was amazing. I pour a lot of myself into this. I care far too much, and I'm genuinely happy for everyone that worked really hard to bring this achievement, and it brought me so much joy, and it was worth it.
But no one's gonna audit you. Just say top 10. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
if
you
I say
just
top 10 and we start peeling layers back.
that was
I want
big.
the other 29.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you're like top 30. Whatever.
Well, it's behind the double of 2013. It's not even like my favorite Miami basketball memory. And there were the Tim James teams and the battles that we had against UConn.
He was your previous favorite, Tim James?
No, I would say Jack McClinton surpassed Tim James because Jack McClinton played such a cool style.
Or Constantine Popa. I mean,
I love Popa.
He was great.
Yeah.
Tito Horford.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't have a proud history. Like these are names.
Mario Bland.
If you're listening nationally, none of these
Good.
names resonate.
Solid player.
Lonnie Walker. None of these players really resonate. And I get it. We don't have a lot of history. But this is a start of us building that history. The ACC move has been a disaster for the University of Miami. We're supposed to be a football school. We pour so many more resources into that program. So allow us the indulgence to celebrate an ACC basketball because here we do not belong.
Damn,
we're not a blue blood.
Wouldn't you say Larrañaga has built it already? It's pretty consistent. I know the last 3 years haven't been very good, but they made the tournament, I think, 5 or 6 times since he's been the head coach. Like
he's done an indisputably
Yeah.
If you look at that team that got
great job.
If you look at that team that got knocked out on the buzzer beater by Loyola Marymount, and then Loyola, or was it Loyola Marymount or Loyola Chicago? Loyola knocked him out at the buzzer, and then Loyola goes on this big Sister Jean run all the way to the Final Four. You look at that roster that we had. That's a team. Loyola basically took Miami's Final Four slot because there are a lot of NBA contributors. You get surprised in watching the association how many guys Jim Larrañaga has brought into this program.
Can I ask a serious question? And I don't want to agitate anyone. Shouldn't John Ruiz get more credit for this than Jim Larrañaga? Like, if he brings in all the players that take you to the next level.
Brought in one player.
He brought in Nigel Peck.
He saved the program, though.
Well, he also kept Wong here, did he not?
There was an NIL package, and remember Wong tried to renegotiate publicly. No, this isn't. I see John at the games, and NIL levels a playing field, but there's a lot of stuff there that John Ruiz doesn't do. And it's a good and the bad because John does help out, I think, more than any single booster. And you don't want to dissuade any of that stuff. But
You top 10?
at the same time, he'll get all the credit. And it's just like, okay, that's not.
I mean, he gets blamed for the football program, doesn't he?
He got blamed for the
For an
the
NCAA
women's-
violation?
Yeah. It's just he
Give
helps.
the man some credit. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
Give him his flowers.
Gonna
Well, I
be a
don't-
3 seed in the tourney. I mean,
Well, that's a Jim Boeheim thing. I think that's disingenuous. I just told you, like he wasn't paying for Wooga Poplar. You know,
You don't know.
He's
he
paying
wasn't
for
developing-
something, Mike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's something's
paying for a
happening
lot.
there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
There's some credit.
Don't ask questions.
It's such a great way to root. Like you guys have already made this normal, okay? A billionaire who is a billionaire, but his money is unusual. His
You
money
gotta
is
be
unusual.
careful
Very
with that.
careful, Dan.
You know,
His money is unusual. Is not. It's not libelous.
I'm
But
sure you and Billy Corbin get a huge kick out of what you're doing on that Because Miami
whoa,
show.
whoa! Wait a minute.
we snooping around.
Wait a minute.
What are you guys doing,
Okay.
Dan? I
Snooping.
missed this episode.
Billy Corbin had a benign video at the expense of Sugar Papi John Ruiz and how sensitive he is, and it made a lot of fans very sensitive, and they got very mad on behalf of. They don't want any questioning of Sugar Daddy, cartoon Sugar Daddy, who is loud and distinctly Cuban and wants all the credit for building a program. But I just wanted, before we go down this path with him, I wanted to step back for a second and just think about how funny it is that you guys are now, yes, ACC champions and excited about a team, but you're just out in the open saying, yeah, Daddy bought us a team. Daddy.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the opposite.
I'm
Me
saying
and Billy are saying
I'm
that.
saying you're
That's
talking.
fine, though.
You're
Jim
talking openly about the idea of.
There are no rules anymore. If they
Exactly
buy a
right.
team, they buy a
No,
team. Who
just
cares?
embrace it, yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
I just hate this shit because no one says that about North Carolina or Duke. Like it only happens with Miami. We're the only ones that
We're
are
the new
using-
ones on the block.
Yeah.
We're not the new ones on the block.
Mike,
no.
that's not fair. I've been saying forever. As long as we've been doing this show, I've been saying all these coaches are cheating. Like I've been
Right.
saying that
So then
forever.
why does Miami
so
entering the
I-
level playing
yeah, so why
field
we just
seem
say-
like a bad thing?
It doesn't.
why
We're not
guys-
criticizing.
yeah,
we're
just-
saying Ruiz deserves credit. That's all we're saying.
He does
Give us
deserve
credit.
credit, but not all the credit. Like
Some of it,
Billy
though.
just
Most
did.
of it.
I'm not pie charting.
I mean,
70.
when he came around, all this money started going into the program that wasn't there before. Like, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have Cristobal, right? Or no?
No, you'd have Cristobal. You'd have Cristobal. I'm very happy for how much he gives to the program. I don't know if it's sustainable, and it does make it a little uncomfortable because I know Billy Corbin fights his fights, and he's doing it on our social media handles, and that shit does blow back on me. I'm sure
but
you
what is
enjoy that.
No, but what is that all about?
Well,
This
because
is-
when
no,
Billy
come
Corbin
on.
does
No,
something
no,
and you do
listen,
something
Mike,
and you guys crack your
Mike,
John Ruiz jokes, who do you
Mike,
think they're? Who do you
listen.
think is? Who do you think is collect? Who do you think gets handed the bill?
Okay,
Wow.
Mike, welcome to my life for the
Yeah.
last 20 years on whenever this show gets in trouble. This thing, though, a video Billy Corbin, local muckraker Billy Corbin has put together that is funny because it's made with songs from our listeners and it's a catchy tune. And I think it's benign. It's not something to be sensitive about. It's about him threatening to sue people who are retweeting criticisms. Like he's sensitive. And so the song makes fun of his sensitivities. That's pretty harmless, all things considered. But man, UM fans must miss being actually hated if that passes for controversy.
Well, John
with
Ruiz,
them.
John Ruiz has a lot of vocal supporters that assume that the good things that are coming to the program are all because of him, and it's almost we have this good thing. Why are two Miami guys and Dan LeBatard and Billy Corbin trying to push this away? Which I've even asked myself, like, what?
Right.
what
Why are you,
getting-
Dan?
Why
Why
are you
doing
guys
that,
getting
Dan?
out of
It's
this?
Pell
Does
Grants all
Corbin-
over again.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
we
Does
get-
Corbin-
we have a billionaire that's deciding to give us money so we can level the playing field and have moments like we had on Saturday. Yeah, is he boisterous and look at me and all sorts of Miami bravado that's almost cliche at this point? Yeah, so what? He's helping.
Does Corbin ever wake up and say, you know what, today's the day. I'm going to leave everyone alone. No snooping around. Today's the day.
look
Do
at
whatever
you.
the fuck you want. I don't care. Billy Corbin is not on your set. He's not on the trail. How about you just wake up and enjoy a day?
You're playing
Try
both
that on
sides.
for size,
Go to
Billy.
brunch, Billy.
Seriously. I mean, he goes to brunch and he's checking out the restaurant
Who's
of the
here?
rats running out of the back. I mean, it's like,
Checking
listen,
the elevators
This
to
knife
see
is
when they're
dirty.
inspected
enjoy a
last
couple
year.
hours of your life for crying out loud. Misery.
He's so right, man. Jeez. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Take your foot off the gas.
Yeah,
I mean, one
oh,
day.
my
You know
God,
what? You know what, Corbin? They are right.
Jeez.
I'm
Let
turning
me have
on
a
you,
goddamn
Corbin.
soccer stadium.
What are you using
Yeah,
our
leave me
platform
alone.
this way for, Corbin? Go lose your corruption battles elsewhere. Leave us to our Canes winning golden.
One
Trying-
time, pick a winner, too.
Trying to get into Iron Arrow. I'm platforming funny videos.
Yeah,
Tell
dude's
the
got an
judge,
axe to
you know.
grind. He's got an axe to grind, and it's fine. He's got his agenda. He's a content factory.
These
for
are
better or
both, they're
worse.
both content factories. They both are.
Yeah.
Wait, what does Ruiz want? He wants to be the swaggering guy who doesn't actually yet win, but gets all the credit for not having won anything.
he just
but
won the
does,
ACC
but doesn't get any
Exactly.
but doesn't get any criticism
Yeah,
for things.
the co-championship that Miami won is not shared with Virginia. It's shared with John Ruiz. John Ruiz is co-ACC
He cut down a
champion.
net, too, yesterday.
Put
His name's on the banner.
Put his face up there. Put it up in
Wait,
the rafters.
so Mike, what happens if John Ruiz sues us? What side are you on?
Well, I mean, if you've seen
Pick a
it,
side, Mike.
I'm playing both
Pick a
sides.
side, Mike.
I'm on John Ruiz's side when it comes to this shit.
That made me think last night when Horford is going up for that shot against the Knicks.
was terrified.
What is Stugotz rooting for?
Yeah. Considering Billy Corbin's win-loss percentage, I'd be a little worried. The only thing worse
I'll join
than
you over there.
Yeah.